Hello and welcome back to the Bright Light Wellness YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited that you are here with me today. Today, I want to do another homeopathy material medica. And what that means is I'm going to teach you about another remedy, right? And when I teach you about a homeopathic remedy, I want to remind you that we're always treating or supporting a person's symptoms that they're expressing on the physical, mental, and emotional level. And we choose a remedy that is similar to the disease. So what we're looking for is a remedy that is going to match the symptoms, right, that the person is experiencing. So homeopathy uses like cures like. So if this remedy was given to a healthy person, we call this approving. We give the remedy over and over and over again to a healthy individual. They would start to prove the remedy. They would start to exude symptoms, okay? And those symptoms are how we know what the remedy would cure, okay? So when you're looking for a remedy for yourself, you always want to make sure that you are looking to match your symptoms. And a lot of times it can be more challenging to do so because a lot of us have a lot of layers, right? So they're like these onions with many, many layers of many constitutional remedies, right? Or many constitutional layers. We're not just one remedy, we're many. Even me, when I used to read homeopathic, well, still, when I read homeopathic material medic, I'm like, oh, I'm this remedy, this remedy, this remedy, this remedy, right? Like I think I'm all these remedies, right? Because we can relate to a lot of different remedies, right? But that's just showing us that there's many layers to healing, right? And we have to find the outermost layer because if we don't, we're going to bump up against it and we're not going to be able to have healing. So that's why it's really good to always meet with a classically trained homeopath or somebody who's an expert in this field to really get you the correct remedy and the correct potency for your situation, because that's the strength of the remedy. And certain situations will require stronger potencies, and some will require less strength, and that's a whole different topic of conversation. But let's get into today's remedy. I want to talk to you about the homeopathic remedy Ferrum. And if you see me looking down, I'm just looking down at some notes that I want to share with you about it. But it's a really great remedy, okay? And there's a lot of oversensitivity in Ferrum and also a lot of weakness, okay? You're going to have a disturbance on the circulatory system in Ferrum. So they could have what we call this false plethora, where they actually look like they have a lot of rosy cheeks, right? Their face looks red, but it's not a sign of vitality. It's actually just false. So they have this flush, rosy look. It's more due to this disturbed circulation. Um, and it's a good remedy for anemia. Now, that doesn't mean if you have anemia, you should take Ferrum. A lot of remedies support anemia, tons. I mean, I think of so many other ones before I even think of Ferrum, actually. But it is a good remedy for anemia. And again, they are irritable, they're oversensitivity with this weakness, and a person actually with this kind of Ferrum imbalance, which actually is iron. So they have an iron imbalance, right? That's why it supports anemia and circulation, right? They can be quite aggressive and domineering also. So they have great sensitivities, but especially to noise and especially the rustling of a paper. So if I take this paper and I rustled it around, a Ferrum is going to be very agitated by that. Like, stop rustling the paper. It's really annoying them. So they're irritable and worse from noise, particularly, but the rustling of the paper is a keynote to Ferrum, but they're no worse from noise. They're generally worse from exertion or from sitting still. So lots of movement will make Ferrum feel worse, but also just being very still can make them feel worse because they're not moving, they're not circulating the blood because they're sitting so much. So the patient actually feels best when they're walking about slowly in open air. Especially, this reminds me of pulsatilla. Pulsatilla also is a great remedy for walking slowly in open air, ameliorates. Ferrum is the same. They walk slowly in open air and they feel a little bit better, right? Again, they get these flushes of heat, worse from exertion, even worse from rest, though. They can have this flushed look on their face, right? They have anemia. They often usually gain a lot of weight, so they have some obesity issues or weight issues. They can sweat a lot. They are chilly patients, but they are also worse from heat. So they're cold, but then they worsen the heat as well. So both of these extremes kind of bother them. and they have an aggravation after midnight. So after midnight is when they feel worse. They continue to have another keynote for Ferrum is headaches, and headaches that last for 2 to 3 days. So there's not a headache that it's like, oh, I have a headache and it goes away. It's not a headache that goes with the menstrual cycle. It's a headache that goes for 2 to 3 days long, like very extreme headaches lasting several days. The headache can be on one spot, especially on the left temple, or a frontal headache in general. They can also get periodic headaches, so they can be every 14 days. And they can get epistaxis, which is nose bleeding, okay? With or without the headaches. They can just have epistaxis. Again, that flush face, or that the face flushes very easily. Okay. They can also have abdominal pains worse from movement. They can have painless diarrhea that's worse after eating. They crave sweets. They crave bread and butter, and they also crave tomatoes, but they also can have an aversion to tomatoes. So they might either really like tomatoes, or they also might be adverse, but they really don't like tomatoes. And they also don't like eggs. They can feel worse from eggs. So Ferrum doesn't like eggs or tomatoes, or could like tomatoes, but they like sweets and bread and butter also. They can have a ravenous appetite that kind of, so they can have this ravenous appetite that goes with an alteration of loss of appetite. Again, worse after midnight, worse after eating, or even while eating. They can have this nausea and vomiting. So it could be after eating, after midnight, they can have this nausea and vomiting. They can have uterine fibroids. They can have bedwetting as a child. They can have difficulty with their respiration, and they're better by walking slowly. And they can have palpitations that are worse with motion. Motion makes their palpitations worse. And they can have a cough that's worse motion. Better, again, walking slowly, again, is better. Backache, also better walking slowly. Okay. They can have cold extremities, cramps in their feet. And they can have arthritis in the upper extremities, like the shoulders, especially. And yeah, that's basically what we got for Ferrum. It's a great remedy that you want to consider if you notice circulation issues in yourself or in a client, or headaches lasting lots of days, irritable, especially to noise, crumpling of paper, worse at night, worse laying down, worse motion, better with slow movement. These are all really great signs for Ferrum, that flushed face again. So I hope that's helpful, and I hope you learned a little bit about Ferrum today. A great remedy, like I mentioned. And yeah, I like to share these material medicas with you guys, so you guys can learn a little bit more about homeopathy and maybe how to use it. I think of Ferrum more as a constitutional remedy, so it's not really a remedy for acutes. So it's more that remedy that you would use for like a long-term care situation, like chronic health issues. So using Ferrum is probably likely going to be something that only homeopaths usually do. This again is Ferrum Metallicum. There's quite a few other Ferrums, like Ferrum Phos and a couple others, but you'll hear Ferrum Phos used a lot in fevers. Ferrum Metallicum is a different remedy. That's the one I'm talking about today. So I hope it's helpful to you. I hope it's interesting. I hope you learned a little bit about the remedy Ferrum. And if you are struggling with chronic health issues, and you need support, I can support you with classical homeopathy. I would recommend booking in an initial homeopathy session, so I can really get to the deep, root causes of your health issues, and your symptoms will tell me the story. They will lead me to the correct remedy for you. If you are better walking slowly, but worse with exertion and stillness, I'll know that remedy is right for you, right? If you have a flushed face, if you're worse after midnight, if you have this ravenous appetite that kind of alternates, right, between I'm hungry, but I'm not hungry, all of these things will help lead me to the right remedy for you. So I hope that that's helpful. If you're struggling with anything chronic, especially if you've done all of the things, I would highly recommend homeopathy. And we got to make sure that we get to that outer layer, right? That onion, we want to get to that outer remedy and peel back those layers slowly, one by one, until we get to your innermost layer. And then you're really healed, right? So I hope that that's helpful. Have an awesome day. And if you need any other support, check out my offerings below. Let me know other conditions or remedies that you want me to discuss, because I'm happy to put those out here for you guys so you can learn more about homeopathy. Yeah, let me know what else you want me to talk about in the comments below, and I'll put that out there for you guys. And also check out my homeopathy courses if you want to learn more about homeopathy. As the fall season is approaching, I highly recommend getting the influenza course, which is really they're really webinars. I should really change the name, but get the influenza course so you can learn how to treat flus at home with acute flus, and also the ear infection course so you can learn how to treat ear infections at home with homeopathy. So you don't have to rely on Western medicine, and you can be self-reliant, and you're not taking these suppressive medications that just suppress the symptoms instead of supporting the symptoms and cause deeper pathologies in the body. So again, I hope that that's helpful. Have an incredible day, and I will chat with you on the next video.